So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gautam. I'm a PhD student at WinLab. Uh, this work is joint work done with NEC Labs in Princeton. Uh, I'm going to just briefly introduce you to what we are working on. I mean, I'm not going to give you the entire set of results and everything, but I'm probably trying to get the idea across as to what we are trying to do. So we are working on the Open Base Station project. The Open Base Station project is basically, we want to provide a WiMAX base station in this case, which is open, programmable, right? And experimenters can use this base station to conduct their experiments. So basically this will involve like allowing some sort of access to the base station, like where the experimenter can say, you know what, I want to use these service classes, or I want to use some ratio of the radio, like some fraction of the radio, basically some provisioning and some control of the base station. This project is driven like mainly by the NSF Genie initiative, which is like what actually Chip introduced and like everyone was talking about. This is an NSF funded virtual laboratory basically for doing at scale experimentation. And this laboratory consists of heterogeneous like network substrates, and this entire substrate is shared, is basically shared by experimenters at the same time. So what you want is and this substrate will actually have wireless edges, which is where our Open Base Station project will come into play. So what we want is this shared testbed, I mean, these users on the shared testbed to have shared access of the base station on the edges. So this is where our work comes in. This is how the broad network architecture looks like. We have a Genie access network which will have all of the components which everyone was talking about. And then we'll have a point of presence over there, and then we have a local network where we might have one or more base stations in our area. So basically like my work or whatever we are doing with NEC is basically to figure out how we can share this base station in such a way that multiple people can use it at the same time and run their experiments and still have reliable results. So we know one thing, that okay, we need to share the base station. So how do we do it? So there are like basically we know, I mean, virtualization actually gives a very convenient way of doing this thing. Virtualization is a concept which is derived from conventional operating systems area. Basically what they say is you have a resource, you have multiple users, so you somehow abstract the physical resource in such a way that you can share it seamlessly across multiple users, while providing the illusion that the users are the only, I mean, each user is the only person who's using that underlying hardware. So basically it's a methodology, it's a way of thinking that which provides you with it provides you with abstraction, programmability, and isolation. So this is what we want to do. We want to have multiple users who will feel, okay, you know what, I have a base station all to myself, right? And it's not exactly the physical base station, but it's a virtual base station, right? And I can perform all of my experiments as I would on a normal base station, right? While our infrastructure makes sure that, I mean, these guys have programmability, they can do their stuff, and also have isolation between each of these experiments. So then, I mean, there are various ways of doing this thing, right? For providing these virtual base stations, you can run virtual machines, which will emulate the physical base station. For providing programmability, we are putting in grid services, which is like a modified form of OMF, and that will arbitrate and provide you with access to the physical base station indirectly. And for doing isolation, we have a control mechanism, which I'll briefly talk about. So this is what is the overall architecture of what we are trying to do. So this is basically a software stack which we are trying to build around a physical base station. This is the WiMAX hardware. We have an antenna on the roof. So actually Ivan was saying that, okay, the coverage is not that good. This is how it's actually right now, because it has a pit wall around it, and this is sitting on the roof. This is the WiMAX indoor unit. The indoor unit is actually the base station, and it has IP connectivity coming in through a LAN cable, and then it sends out fiber output that goes to an RF amplifier sitting over here, and then we get RF going on top to the roof. We are currently operating with an experimental license, and the licensing is something I'm not going to talk about, and this is inherently IP based. So all of the components in the system are IP based. This is how the current setup looks like. This is like the way we set it up right now. You can come in from the outside world. This is the outdoor network on the orbit, within the orbit framework. So if you have an orbit account, you will come in through the outdoor network, and you can log into this substrate which houses the multiple virtual base stations. So this substrate is actually running the multiple virtual machines and is also partially running one of the grid services, like through which you can make API calls and do stuff. This is the ASN gateway. This is the application service network gateway. It is a part of the standard WiMAX architecture. So this ASN gateway was modified by folks at NEC along with what we are doing. And basically, we have modified this entire thing to work in such a way that we can send end-to-end packets across, basically. So yeah, so that is briefly, and actually, like, if you want to know more about what the ASN does, there is a lot of literature about it in the WiMAX standards itself. So depending on the profile of the base station, you will have different things which can be done by the substrate. But again, those things are not going to be talked about. This is how the broad architecture looks like. We have an internal network from where we can control each of these substrates. We have put it in such a way. And we have an instrumentation network which can measure and see the performance of the link between the ASN and the base station. So, okay, actually, let me get to this part. So the changes, one of few of the major changes which we have in this architecture is, initially the base station was all basically all IP based. Now we have we are doing frame forwarding at layer 2. The reason for doing basically frame forwarding at layer 2 is to be Genie compliant, so that basically experimenters can come in and run their experiments which are which may use some variant of IP or something else altogether. So basically layer 2 and up you can do your experiments. That is the idea. We built the API which will allow you to program this base station, set up your experiment, set up an end-to-end route with the clients, run your experiments, and do all sorts of stuff. So this is a very initial version where we are adding clients and doing stuff, setting up data path. But eventually we want to get to a point where we can define custom service classes and run your experiments, change parameters and see how it works. We also have a slice isolation mechanism. That is a virtual network traffic shaper. So what that does is it sits outside of the base station and controls traffic to and from the base station in such a way that you can keep isolation across experiments. So basically, and actually that was one of the design goals, because Genie says that Genie has this vision of doing experiments at scale. So you have to work with commercial hardware, and if you're using commercial hardware, you can't really modify any of this. So what we're trying to do is build something on top of it, so that you can still work with this thing as it is and get your experiments done. This actually also provides us with some sort of flexibility. So eventually, if you get a newer version of the hardware, or if you work with a different or a slightly different hardware, you can still use this architecture and modify it in a way, little bit, and then still get it working. If you're working outside of the base station radio itself. So now basically what I'm going to do is, from this picture, I'm going to briefly talk about what each of these boxes are. Okay. So the topmost box is the virtual base station transceiver, VBTS, this thing. And basically what it consists of different, multiple virtual machines. These virtual machines are spawned on the fly based on the user request. We have incoming connections from the Genie network, the one which I showed. We come in through the outdoor network and into this thing. And then each of these virtual machines are configured in such a way that you have multiple Ethernet interfaces, basically layer 2 interfaces on all of these, and then they go out over here. We have a grid service running on this machine, which will facilitate, which will allow you to run all sorts of calls on it, right? Create slice, add clients, do all of these things. So there has actually been quite a bit of design discussion as to what virtualization scheme we used. We used KVM, why we used, but for this we have a separate paper which I can point you to if you want to take a look. Basically, frame forwarding has been done in this architecture using the Click modular router, and it's used partially on this machine and then on the next ASN gateway. So that's where actually I'll go more into depth of what it is doing. So this is the second box. In this thing, basically we are doing two things. First thing is the work done at NEC Labs. Basically, we've got a modified control interface which allows us to get notification of when clients are joining in, when clients are going out, those things. It's a modified socket-based control interface. And we also have the slice isolation engine running over here, which is the VNTS thing which I was talking about. And also basically frame forwarding. So what happens is packets coming in from the VMs come on each of these virtual interfaces sitting on top. And then these are GRE tunnels which are coming in from the base station to each of the wireless clients. So what we need to do is on the fly, based on the configuration, we need to map the right virtual interfaces to the right tunnels. At the same time, you have to monitor traffic between each of these links, which is the isolation engine, right? To figure out how much radio resource each of these clients are taking and isolate them. And yeah, basically get these updates. Right? So this is what is happening on the ASN packet forwarding interface, packet forwarding substrate. This is a very brief overview of the slice isolation engine. So I was mentioning that we have a slice isolation engine running over here, which is implemented in the click router. What this is doing is it's basically getting. So for doing isolation, what we are doing is we are getting SNMP feedback from the base station, figuring out how much radio resource. So in the simplest case, if you assume two slices, each have one client each, right? You figure out how much radio resource each of these clients are taking, and you figure out how much traffic you're pumping into it. So based on the resource they are using, you can throttle the traffic going into each of these slices to limit radio usage. So essentially what I could do is I could say that, I'll give 30% to one group of clients and I'll give like rest 70% to the other group of clients. So that is what we are trying to do with this. Again, I'm not trying to, because I'm trying to give an overview of things. The details of this thing, like how this is the first version of the software is implemented, is actually published at ICC. So I will be glad to send a paper to someone if you want to take a look at it. The last box is the base station. We are using the box as is. And the reason for doing this is, it's a proprietary hardware, and basically you want to have that flexibility of building stuff around that hardware. Yep. So this slide is giving a very basic idea of how message passing is happening within the network. So when a user comes in, you can say, create a slice, and then that leads, these are the two grid services basically, and then the grid service will create a slice and say, the slice has been created. It will say, allocate a VLAN to my slice, like add a client to my slice. That happens, and then this service basically propagates the mapping to the other substrate which is sitting on the ASN. And independently, this guy can actually get a registration from the client saying, this MAC address client has registered with this tunnel mapping. And then you can do that end-to-end mapping, basically coming in from a VLAN which the VM is using to the particular GRE which goes out to that client, the GRE interface. So now, I'm sure quite a few of you have seen this maybe earlier, but the idea is, I'm just trying to give you a very basic idea of this, how the slice isolation engine is working. This is a demo which we did at Genie GEC 6. So in the very simplest case, it is this way that we have a mobile client and we have a stationary client. The mobile client is sending downlink traffic to the mobile slice, the mobile virtual machine is sending traffic to its mobile client. The stationary slice is sending traffic to its stationary client. And then the mobile client is taking this path actually. This is the WinLab floor map. It's going through, starting in the orbit room and going in one corner of the building and then coming back up. And what you observe is when it's going in that corner, the RSSI for the client, the mobile client, is dropping a lot. So when we measure the downlink throughput, this is what we see. So we see that when the client is actually going in that area, the throughput for the mobile client is dropping. And actually at that point, the throughput of the static client is also dropping, because when the base station tries to reach that mobile client, it's actually using a more robust modulation and coding scheme to reach that client. And in that process, is using up radio resources of the other client. So basically, the base station is this. By default, it was operating in a throughput fair mode, which is the reason this is happening. So now I understand that the NEC base station also has a time fair mode, where you can alleviate this condition if you are having service classes of the same type. But then again, this problem will arise again if you have, say, the mobile client operating with a UGS flow and a static client operating with a BE flow across classes, basically. So In that case, what you really want is if you are an experimenter and if your client is sitting in one corner, you don't want your performance to be affected by someone else's experiment, right? So in this case, our slice isolation engine comes into play, and when we use our slice isolation engine, we can see that the static line gets a relatively decent performance, even while this guy's mobile experiment is going on. So this is a very basic version. So we have other experiments where we did these tests outdoor. We have other experiments where we did two-level scheduling, as in like within the virtual machine we were doing packet scheduling, and then we had the lower layer Mac scheduler, the base station scheduler, doing its own thing. We have measurements for that, but those, again, I mean, to keep the talk concise, I have not included them over here. So basically, yeah, this is our contribution. Like, we have this software architecture running. Future steps in this project involve tighter integration of the control framework. The software right now is like a first cut, so we need to make it decent enough so that, I mean, like production scale, so that it can work across with a lot of people. And we need to also figure out how we can stitch this into the Genie substrate, basically. Right? And that is actually, so I'm interning at BBN Labs this summer, and we are going to be also looking at like few of these issues. So, yeah.
So let's open the floor for questions.
One quick question. So the virtualization is sort of limited to the IP flow level, right? You can't virtualize at the forward amplifier and diagonal structures level. So all the slices will have the same coverage, same range.
Yes.
Can't have one, right?
Yes, that's.
Is it possible to do forward amplifier here? Is it inherently hard?
So I think that is a
Rhetorical
question we should ask someone from NEC to answer probably. It's hard, right? Because it's a commercial product, so I don't know. I mean, unless it's supported in the product itself.
Can you simulate the interference and different virtualization, the WiMAX? Interference. What do you mean? Right now you assume that they're all independent, different flow, right? Different data flow.
So they are independent service flow.
But can you simulate interference like real world situation?
So this is actually an experiment if we do. This is actually like two clients. One client is walking. This is not. I mean, this is actually I think one step ahead of something. We actually did it.
Real situation through Wi-Fi base station will interfere with each other, right?
So actually, Wi-Fi WiMAX can't occur again because this is in a license spectrum. And Wi-Fi is operating in.
I think the question is maybe at the WiMAX slot level, can you assign the same slot with two different virtual base stations? We can't do that.
No, we can't.
We don't have control over